Good afternoon. It is my sincere pleasure to be here once again for our Music Champion celebration. And we have so many things to celebrate. This year, not only with the Music Champion program, but also with our whole Department of Learning Through the Arts, we've been trying out digital media. And we've been trying out designing lessons and curriculum that uses digital media. And I was thinking about digital media a lot this year. I was thinking about all of those tools and those technologies that we use and how we use them, and our teachers, how our teachers are using them, how you as students are using those tools and technologies. And I gained a lot of insight from speaking with my grandmother. My grandmother is 95 years old. Actually, correction, she turned 96 in May. So she just turned 96 years old, and she lives on her very own farm in Manitoba, where she has lived for about 75 years. It's very impressive, and she is a very wise and wonderful woman. And I was speaking with her about technology one day, and we got onto the topic of Facebook. Has anyone ever talked to their grandma about Facebook before? Have you talked with your grandma about Facebook? Yeah? Maybe your grandma's even on Facebook. So I was speaking with my grandma, and she said, I think it is pretty neat. She said, I'll never touch a computer, it's just not for me. But I do think that it is really extraordinary that people can connect with their friends, their family, their relatives, brand new people all around the world. But then she said this, and this was very important. She said, as long as they're using it for good and not for bad purposes, not to be mean, not to bully people, not to perpetuate negative ideas. And then she said, but I know no one in my family would ever do that. And I realized this in that moment, which was that internet, she couldn't even dreamed of internet when she was your age. She couldn't have even dreamed of a telephone when she was your age. She didn't have a telephone or running water, definitely not a computer, maybe a radio in her house. She had no idea that Facebook was coming, but she felt like she had raised my mom and my aunts and then her grandchildren to be able to be on the internet and to be responsible and respectful even when we were in that new place. And that's what I've been thinking about this year when I've been visiting all of your classrooms and I've been working with your artist educators and your teachers. I've been thinking about how do we teach? How do we work together, really? I'm not teaching, we're learning together to really let our voice say something important when we're using digital media, when we're using applications online, when we're on Facebook. Because anybody can go online and post something, but what's important is that you do that with integrity and you do that with artistry. And I can confidently say that all of the digital media projects, all of the videos, songs, projections, all of the amazing things that you have been doing this year have been made with integrity, they have been made with artistry, they have been made with respect to yourself, to your fellow creators, to the people that they have you've been inspired by. So I can say for sure that I feel so overjoyed with the beautiful work that is coming from each and every one of you here. And we are here on this stage today to continue to celebrate that. We celebrated in the morning. Here on stage this afternoon, you are going to see live performances, you are going to see video performances, and I'm so excited to say that nearly every image you see on screen today was filmed, photographed, edited, and created by students and teachers. It wasn't me making these videos, it was students and teachers that made these videos, and I couldn't be more proud than to have shared in the process. So can we give ourselves a round of applause? Now, you may have noticed that I have a very interesting gentleman standing here, don't I? I couldn't be more excited to introduce you to my friend, colleague, and certainly somebody that I very much look up to. Can you please give a warm round of applause for Dr. Elder Bob Phillips? Chi
miigwech, everyone. One thing that when we start a session such as this one, I like to point out is that a long time before there was Toronto and the place that we know of right now, there were Native people here who were happy and thriving and very content. One of those groups was the Wendat. Another one was the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabeg, and perhaps most recently, the people from the Mississauga of the New Credit. And they're no longer actually in control of the territory of Toronto, but we're still on what may be considered their traditional territory. And so I would like to say Chi-miigwech to them. Thank you to them for allowing us to be here today. And
I am so honored to be here on this stage and to be on this land. And Chi-miigwech, you used a very particular phrase. Could you let the students know what that phrase means and where it comes from?
Yes, miigwech is really the term that says thank you. But chi means big. Chi-miigwech. And as a matter of fact, kitchi can also mean big. And makwa means bear. And in my language, Kitchi Makwa Nijnikas, Great Bear is my name. And native languages tend to be very descriptive. And when you see how big I am, I'm sort of like an old bear. So Chi-miigwech to everyone, thank you very, very much for that. Any further questions or anything?
I do have another question. So Bob has been visiting many of your classrooms. You might have had him visit you. And he's visiting as an elder. He's bringing lots of wonderful knowledge of his own Aboriginal culture. But he also brings a very special skill set. And I happen to know that Bob had an interesting experience a while back where he got put on the spot and found that he had a real spectacular talent. Can you tell us about how that happened?
You're talking about, well, it's because even being up here on stage, you know, if you have to come up on stage, gee whiz, maybe it's a little intimidating and a little frightening. And so at one point, I wrote an article for a native newspaper. And the next day after it was published, I got a call from Patrice Mousseau down at Aboriginal Voices Radio saying, come on down, I want you to have a chat with me. And I thought she wanted me to write articles that she could read on air. And when I got down there, the woman said, no, I want you to come in tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm putting you on air, live to air, for a full half hour to talk about Native art. And I said, okay. But then overnight, I started saying to myself, oh my, what did I get myself into? This is bad. I'm going to have a lot of trouble here. And I went in the next morning, she put me in front of a microphone, and she went and sat behind this big panel with slides and dials and earphones. And I'm saying to myself, oh, this is terrible. I'm going to be in a lot of trouble here. And all of a sudden, I could hear her saying, and this morning we have a very special guest, Mr. Bob Phillips. How are you this morning, Bob?
Fine, thank you, Patrice, and yourself. Well, as a matter of fact, this morning I've chosen to discuss, and that put me on the air for 10 years. And that was broadcast from Ottawa all the way through to Vancouver.
Now, is that a voice, or is that a voice? So for 10 years, if you tuned into Aboriginal Voices Radio, we would have heard your show.
I'm no longer on the air, but perhaps what that little story will point out to you is that each of you is capable of doing far more than you ever imagined. And so there's no need to be concerned or afraid. Once you get put in that kind of a thing, it'll probably be like me. Hi, everyone. How are you doing? You see what I mean? Does that make sense?
I think we are going to see some of that today. So those of you who have been at the show before know that sometimes we show documentary videos, short little ones, to let us know what those students have been thinking about when they were creating their dance. But today, inspired by Dr. Bob, we are going to do it live right here on the stage. So some of your friends and colleagues and classmates are going to be up here talking about the beautiful artwork that you are about to see. So should we get started with some performances? Okay.